Hi, I'm Michelle Todd. I'm Marissa's mother, and you had sent some questions for me as well, so I'd like to share my thoughts on those. First question, what were your first thoughts when you found out your daughter had Down syndrome? Well, I was surprised. We certainly didn't expect that. We had one child, Michaela, who was very healthy. Was a little bit of disbelief, and then after she was born, I would say there was a whole grieving process. For me personally, some denial, that I had to bury some of the expectations that I had for her. It just took me a while before I really could embrace the idea that that Marissa was who Marissa was, and I just couldn't hardly believe it. But after a lot of spiritual growth, I have learned to certainly love Marissa and know that she is made by God. The next question, what early intervention did you do? Well, we didn't really know much about Down syndrome, and so what we did was we started doing a lot of reading, and God crossed our paths with a doctor from Virginia, and we began to use an intervention of vitamins that he had prepared, and we began to, it was called Nutravine, and it was to try to counterbalance some of the chemicals and things that happen in her body. We also met some folks from Utah, so we traveled several places around the country to try to get the advice from experts. We did a lot of what was called cross-patterning, brain growth. We did a lot of input-output. We helped her with the crawling. We did just a host of exercises to help trying to make her strong, and we also gave her this vitamin supplement along with what's called a smart drug called paracetam. And she's been on that ever since she was born, 3 weeks after birth until even now. What's the most difficult thing about having a child with Down syndrome? I think it was just my realignment, understanding that they do learn. There's really not anything wrong with them. You just have to approach life a little bit different. They can learn, they can grow, they can be fun, they can be taught to do just about anything. She just fits in our family great. So probably I was the biggest problem about having a child with Down syndrome. What struggles and battles have you had to face to get what your child needed as a student? I think some of it was that I was unprepared and didn't really understand how the system worked. I think a parent has to go into the school system really understanding what they want, and all we want is really what's best for our child. We have to have it well planned, well thought out, but we also need to recognize that the teachers there, they don't really know much about Down syndrome or that particular disability either. So we're more in a teaching role and then firm enough to really get what we want. For the first couple years of her school, we had to really put our foot down and really show them that she could do more than what they were allowing her to do. And thankfully, we had a first grade teacher who really embraced that thought with us and agreed to take her part-time. And she actually, along with us, helped her to read. And we have been integrated in regular ed ever since. But it was hard to get into that regular ed early on. And Marissa's done a fine job of proving herself, but we as a family have worked hard on this side to make sure she was equipped with what she needed. And we had some really wonderful teachers who could see deep into Marissa's heart and believed in her. What daily struggles do you have? Well, I wouldn't say we have too many daily struggles. There are a few inconveniences, like Marissa doesn't drive at the age she is, and it would be really helpful to our family if she could. But we have to kind of realter our schedules from time to time to be her taxi. We have to help her with certain pieces of homework just to make sure that they're done, and not so much that they're done, but they're done well. Occasionally we have to re-explain a few things, or we're still doing a few items of things like her laundry. But we're kind of used to our whole routine, and so I wouldn't really call them too many struggles. Occasionally we go out in public, and now so many people know Marissa and she's so friendly, it's certainly not a struggle, but we almost always are in the center of attention, and that's taken a little adjustment as well. Sometimes we don't want to be the center of attention, but thankfully she's a very happy child, and it makes it easier. What did you do differently when raising Marissa and Kayla? Well, I used to be a parent that just was sure I would never use the 1, 2, 3 method. Children should obey the first time, and they should obey immediately. Well, Marissa was a little bit different thinker, and so I had to learn how to use that 1, 2, 3 method, not so much for Marissa, but for my patients, that I would not overreact or, excuse me, that I would not overreact, or I would give her enough mental processing time to really understand what I was asking, and give her a chance to prove herself. So that's one thing differently. And then two, Marissa's just taken us on such a ride that she's been in the newspaper, she's been to the state fair, she's known a lot of places. It's just really hard to compare the two. But for both girls, we expected obedience. We expected them to do as they were asked, to love us, and we were to love them, and to be a part of the family, and to be a part of everything that we've done. And I think, for the most part, we've treated them pretty equally. They each need to do what they've been created to do. So hopefully this answers your questions. Thank you for listening to Marissa and I. And if you have other questions, we're always happy to visit with you one-on-one. So just reach out to us and we'll answer some more. Thanks.